Good evening, everybody. This is the public hearing notice of the San Benito CISD Board of Trustees. It's Tuesday, March 6th, 2018, and it is exactly 6:04 p.m. I call this meeting to order. Roll call, Mr. Mendez.
Present.
Ms. Emma Garcia.
Present.
Ms. Ana Cruz. Mr. Joe G. Gonzalez. Mr. Orlando Lopez.
Present.
Mr. Victor Rosas. Dr. Nate Carmen.
Present.
And Mr. Tony Torres. Okay, agenda item number 3, discussion of the 2016-2017 Texas Academic Performance Report, or TAPER. I will turn it over to Dr. Carmen.
Thank you, Mr. Vargas. At this time, I'm actually going to ask Mrs. Gina Ortiz. She'll come to the podium, please.
Good evening, Dr. Carmen, Mr. President, members of the board, and members of the community that are joining us today. Today, we're going to present the information for the 2016-2017 Texas Academic Performance Report. This report includes a lot of different pieces of information. It includes some demographic information for school districts and campuses. It includes performance information, both for our STAAR assessment as well as for some of our college-ready indicators. So the presentation today will summarize some of the key points that are presented in the TAPER report. So to begin with, some of the information we're going to cover is going to be in regards to our fall enrollment data. The TAPER report does include information for the year, for 2016 to 2017. We had enrollment of 10,621 students. And we've also included some information back to 2004 so that we can see the trends for the enrollment. Some of you that have joined us at the town hall meetings, Dr. Carmen has presented some of the trends previously, and so this just gives some additional information on that. The next slide brings in some additional pieces. Not only does it have the enrollment information in the bar graph, but the line graphs include information on our FTEs. Those are our number of employees, our full-time employee units. The top line, which is in orange, includes those individuals that are not identified as teacher. So they would be all of our other FTE. And the bottom line, which is in a lighter yellow, that is the number of teacher FTEs that we've had per year. So for 2017, we had 680.4, and for the other FTE, we had 937.3. And the reason that it is a decimal is that sometimes we have individuals that will start off at different times throughout the year. So it's not that we have a third of a person, but that's why it will be presented that way. And again, it will go back to 2011 so that we can see the correlation and the changes. The third slide has the information on the FTEs, but it also has some of the funding information. What we focused on in this slide is going to be the general fund balance and the comparison of the allocated and the unallocated fund balance. So we can see that for 2015, 2016, and I'm going to start on that one because that's where we have our actual financial data, we had 17.9 million unallocated and 4.3 that was allocated. That's reserved funds.
There you go.
And for 2016, 2017, based on the 2017 audit report that was just presented last month, that we see we are at 24.6 unallocated and 4.6 at the allocated.
Good job.
Okay, so we can see that has increased. We also include, in the TAPER report, they also include information on our teachers. Okay, and that's what the next slide is going to focus on. How much experience do the teachers at San Benito CISD have in the teaching profession? And so we can see that in our district, about 6% of our students are considered beginning teachers, in comparison to 7.8% at the state level. When we go over to the 6 to 10 years, we see that we're very close to the state, 20.3 for our district and 20.9% for the state. And all in all, for most of them, we're about 2 percentage points away, either a little bit higher or a little bit lower than the state. Some of the other key points that we wanted to focus on is the turnover rate, and that's going to be the box at the top left. For our district, the turnover rate for our teachers is 14.9%. Those are the teachers that do not come back the next year. And when we look at the state, our district is lower. So we are retaining our teachers at a higher rate than the state. And then we can also see on the right side in the box, we have the average experience of our teachers is 11.8 years. And with our district, 9.6 years. And to follow our teacher information, the next slide focuses on our student demographics. So the key pieces that we have are going to compare our district percentage to the state. And so for our economically disadvantaged, our district is at 84.2% economically disadvantaged in comparison to the state at a 59%. We also have a higher population of our limited English proficient students. We have 22.8 in comparison to 18.9. And very similar to those students that are receiving bilingual and ESL services. And just for clarification, not all of the students that are identified as limited English proficient receive services from bilingual or ESL. And that's why those numbers are going to vary a little bit. In our CATE program, we have a higher percentage of our students identified as participating in CATE in comparison to the state, so 27.9 for San Benito C.I.S.D. And our special education population is a little bit lower than the state by 0.5%. And then, of course, our demographic as far as our ethnicity, we are 99% Hispanic in comparison to 52.4% at the state level. Okay, that brings us to attendance, which is another piece of information that is captured on the taper. And this information is going to be a year behind because it does take them some time to gather all that information. And so they present 2015, 2016 attendance rates. And so we can see that for 2015-16, the district was at 95.3, and the state was at 95.8. So it was 0.5% of difference between the two. And we've included the previous years as well, so you can see the trends. It can be a little misleading because of the way that the graph is magnified. It's all less than a percentage point difference. And then for our dropout rate, I do want to commend overall the district has reduced the dropout rate. We were at 2.3% in 2014, and we can see that for 2015-16, the district was at 1.4%. Okay, and that is below the region, which was at 2.1, and the state's 2.0. So this is one of those where we want to be lower than everybody else. And this focuses on 9th through 12th grade in this instance. Then another area that we can see there's a difference between the district and the state is going to be in our graduation rate. Our graduation rate for the class of 2016 was 91.8% in comparison to 89.1% at the state level. Okay, and again, we've included some information for the class of 2015 and 2014 as well. The state not only looks at the students that graduate within the 4 years, but they also look at those that take an additional year to graduate. And there we can see that the district was at 93.7% for the class of 2015 in comparison to the region at 91 and the state at 91.3. They don't only look at the percent of our students that are graduating, but they also look at what graduation plan. How are they graduating under that distinguished and recommended plan? And so that's another piece of information that they have for the class of 2016. At the district level, we were at 80.9% in comparison to 90.9 at the regional and 83.3 at the state. So we are a little bit below them. As part of the report, we also present information on any violent and criminal incidents that have occurred within the district. Some of these cases may have occurred outside of the school day, but they are still reported in our data. And so for the 2016-2017 school year, we did have a total of 10 incidents, 3 identified as felony, 3 misdemeanor, 3 assault, and 1 identified as other.
Mr. Ortiz, on that one, does that only include the traditional setting, agnostic of like our PRC or alternative programming?
It includes all of our students, anybody that's identified as part of our school district. We've also included some information on our accountability. Part of the TAPER report does provide information about us meeting the accountability standard. So we wanted to provide some insight on how far above the state standard we were for each of our indexes. So you can see there for index 1, for example, we were at 67 with the goal being a 60, and then 35 for index 2 with the goal being a 22, 38 for index 3 with the goal being a 28, and 72 for index 4 with the goal being a 60. That brings us into our STAAR data. So the next couple of slides are going to present some information on our STAAR performance. And again, it's going to be from left to right, district, region, and state for each of the different core areas. So we can see that for reading, for example, we were at a 64% at the district in comparison to a 69 at the region and 72 for the state. And it goes on for each of the different subject areas. That previous slide included all of our testers from grades 3 through 12. So it includes our STAAR and our STAAR EOC, whereas the next slide only looks at our end of course students. Those are our high school students, and that breaks it down by each of the subject areas. So we can see, for example, English 1, we had a 59% in 2017 in comparison to a 59 at the region and a 64% at the state level. Not only do they look at the number of students that are meeting the performance standards, but they also look at our students that are testing year after year. Are they showing progress in the areas of reading and mathematics? And so that's what this next slide looks at. In our reading, we can see that we were at a 54% showing progress in comparison to 59 at the state and at the regional level. Okay, and then for our math, 59 in comparison to 65 and 64. The state does not include all of our STAAR tests when it comes to accountability. For our district, 94% of the tests were included. And the reason that 6% are not included is that they look at our students that were with us from the beginning of the year, from that PEAM snapshot. So if they were not with us during PEAM snapshot, then they would not be included in our accountability. Okay. And we're very close to the region and the state with a 95 and a 94. The next couple of slides we're going to look at, this one's going to focus on college-ready graduates. And they look at a lot of different elements for this. For college-ready graduates, they look at our students' performance on the TSI assessment, ACT, and SAT. So if they meet the criteria, then they would be identified as being college-ready. So we are a little bit below the region, 25.9 in comparison to 44.6 for our reading and for our mathematics as well. And then when we look at the last column, that one brings in our career readiness. So that's where they bring in the information for our CTE coherent sequence. So that one, we're at a 71.2% of our students being college and career ready. When we look at the students that are enrolled in Texas higher education, we have at the district level for our 2014-2015 graduates, 48.8% of our students are enrolling in a Texas higher education institution. This is only in the state of Texas, so I do want to clarify that. That would not include any higher ed entities that are outside of the state. And then they also want to know how many of our students are completing 1 year without remediation. And across the board, both at the district, regional, and state level, there was a decrease in that percentage. So we were at 45.2%, and again, this is the 2014-2015 graduates. We also have access to information from the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, and that gives us a breakdown of those students that enrolled in higher education and how many of them enrolled in a 4-year and a 2-year institution, and their GPA breakdown that first year that they were in that university. Wow. So we have that information for San Benito High School, as well as for our Gateway to Graduation Academy. And again, this is only for the state of Texas. So if they enrolled in an institution outside of the state, that wouldn't be included in these reports. As part of the information for the taper, we also want to mention that campus performance objectives are very important, and they are part of our campus improvement plans, and that is something that I know has been brought to the board as well. Those are things that are being measured periodically. We do have different time periods where the campuses are looking at their performance objectives and making sure that they're on target to reach them at the end of the year. Campus improvement plans are posted on the district website and are also available for review upon request. We also received our accreditation for 2016-2017, and the school district is accredited. And so there's some information there on the different labels that are given to our districts. And so in summary, there are some areas that would require some follow-up. That would include, although the district did meet the accountability standard for 2017, there are definitely some areas in the STAAR performance that we will be targeting in grades 3 through 12. Students, also the number of students that are being identified as college-ready graduates, and the students that are meeting or exceeding progress in reading and in mathematics. Those things are already being addressed in several ways. One, in professional development and resources that are being provided to district leaders, campus leaders, and teachers, which includes KILGO, TEAC's resource system, and Lead Forward. So we do have several projects that are assisting with that. We're also providing more students the opportunities to take the TSI as a TSI testing center. And not only are we providing that now at San Benito High School, but we're also providing opportunities at Veterans Memorial Academy. And expanding and improving educational opportunities through our career and technical education program. We also have some areas of celebration. Our graduation rates are higher than the region and the state. We did meet the standard for accountability. We had a higher rate of students participated in CTE programs in comparison to the state, and our district dropout rate is lower than that of the state and the region for grades 9 through 12. And then also the number of distinction designations for 2017 increased in comparison to 2016.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz, for that wonderful presentation. We now leave questions or comments from the board.
May I? Thank you. First of all, I'd like to commend our leadership on the areas of your graduation rates, which of course are higher than the region and the state, meeting our standards of 2017 state accountability, and the higher rate for student participation in CATE programs, and of course highlighting the dropout rates. Of course, that, to me, if we lose one child, it's not something to celebrate, but nonetheless, we are higher than the region. The number of distinctions and designations that are increased, I commend you all for that. But at the same token, I want to challenge our leadership for a couple of things. If we could go back to item number 5. I'm sorry, oh, thank you. Oh, there you are. I'm sorry, page number 7 on the attendance percentage rate. I understand that the taper provides us with a snapshot of a year or two ago. So my challenge to the leadership is to, let's try to begin identifying the current trend that we have, the year that we actually currently in, for example, the 2016 and 2017 school year, because I believe that by doing that, we can begin addressing any ADA issues or or truancy issues that come into play. And that means bringing in both the, and help me out with this, the parental involvement program, the new, the parental outreach individuals, the counseling department, even the, at the campus level. It's important that we help our parents understand that for every 1 or 2 days of absenteeism, the rates of that child completing high school or going beyond high school begins to diminish. So it's important that we begin tracking those numbers on our current trends immediately. Regarding our dropout rates, again, 2.3%. If you're looking at the 10,000 number, you're looking at about, what, 20 students? That's still a lot of kids. The graduation longitudinal rate. Congratulations, this is a wonderful view to see that our kids are actually graduating. But nonetheless, if we look at our college readiness and career readiness, that's where I think we need to begin addressing, evaluating what we're doing internally to assure that our kids are exiting our high schools, college, career, and workforce ready. I know that the state right now has rolled out an initiative on the college and career readiness, and I believe it's important that we begin to look at their direction and their implementation models to assure that our kids have a fighting chance for our global competitiveness. So in essence, if we could jump over to the page 18, where it says 2015, 2016 college-ready graduates. 2015, 2016, that was last year. So let's ask ourselves, what are we doing for our graduates this year? I know that we're exiting them, and we're exiting them with about 600 to 700 students. But if we look at page 21, and we see how many of our kids are actually transitioning, we're losing 258 students that are not found. And yes, I understand that some of them do go to Ivy League schools, but if we have our numbers taking classes here locally, and it's a small amount, the probability of those 258 students is non-attendance. So there's an item that we have to really begin to emphasize and look and try to see what we can do as a district to correct those issues there. Additionally, if we look at page 22, high school graduates from 2014, 2015 enrolled in Texas Public Independent Higher Education on the Gateway program, we have 76 that are graduating, but only 12 are continuing their education. I challenge our leadership to find ways to engage this population into some sort of college, career, military, or workforce. I'll stop it there because I believe we're out of time. But nonetheless, Dr. Carmen, thank you very much for this report. And that's my 2 cents on the table. Thank you very much.
Dr. Carr, I have a comment to make as well. First and foremost, I want to thank our administration. As you guys will know, our administration just started less than a year. With this data that we just received right now, I want to commend you guys for your professional development and also making sure that our constituents and our parents understand and know that we're providing the best education possible for our kids. That's what this board stands for, and that's what we strive for. So that's one of our major responsibilities, to make sure that our kids are given every opportunity to succeed. And this data is good for us to set a platform moving forward and see how we can improve and where can we improve, and to be transparent with our constituents so they know what challenges we're facing as a district as well as an organization. Thank you, Dr. Carmen, appreciate it.
Dito.
Ms. Ortiz.
The only agenda item before adjournment is public comment. Does anybody have anything to say regarding the taper report? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mendez. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Lopez. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We adjourn the public hearing at 6:29 PM.